I remember the day they laughed at me like it was yesterday, the cruel, dismissive sneer etched into their faces, the words dripping with disdain. That's such a stupid dream. You're wasting your time. You're embarrassing us. I was just a girl then, barely 20, standing in the middle of our cramped living room, clutching my sketchpad like a lifeline. I had told them I wanted to be a fashion designer, to create something beautiful, something meaningful. But to my family, it was nothing more than a childish fantasy, an impossible, ridiculous idea they couldn't take seriously. They scoffed at my ambitions, calling it childish nonsense, telling me I'd never succeed, that I was deluding myself. They said I was wasting my potential on something so frivolous, so impractical. I felt my cheeks burn with shame, but beneath that, a flicker of defiance ignited. I refused to let their doubts drown my dreams. I decided then and there that I would prove them wrong, no matter what it took. And so I left. I packed my bags and moved to a city that never slept, where dreams were made or broken in the blink of an eye. I worked tirelessly, pouring every ounce of passion, every ounce of my soul into my craft. Nights blurred into mornings. I washed dishes by day, sketching designs by night. I slept on borrowed couches, fought through rejection after rejection, and faced the harsh reality of a world that didn't want to believe in my vision. But I kept going. I knew my worth wasn't defined by their narrow-minded judgments. I believed in myself, in my talent, in my relentless pursuit of beauty. Slowly, the pieces started falling into place. I landed small gigs, then bigger contracts. My designs gained recognition. I entered competitions, won awards, and finally, I launched my own fashion line, an eclectic blend of elegance and rebellion, a reflection of my journey. Years later, I stood at the pinnacle of my career. My label was celebrated worldwide, my name recognized on runways and magazine covers. I had built a brand that spoke of resilience, of daring to chase what others deemed impossible. I had become everything they said I could never be. But even as I basked in my success, I knew what I owed, what I truly needed, was to reclaim that fractured part of myself they had shattered all those years ago. So I returned home. The house hadn't changed much: faded paint, overgrown weeds, the same worn-out porch where my mother used to sit and call me dreamer. But to me, it felt like stepping into a nightmare I thought I'd escaped. The moment I crossed the threshold, I could feel their eyes on me, hungry for judgment, for proof that I had failed, that I was still the same foolish girl they'd mocked. My father looked up from his newspaper, his face a mixture of disbelief and thinly veiled contempt. "So you're back," he said, voice flat, almost resentful. My mother's eyes darted away, but I caught the flicker of shame in her expression. I didn't come to justify myself. I had nothing to prove to them anymore. I had already proven everything I needed, every late night, every rejection, every moment of doubt. I had built a life that was mine, a testament to perseverance and belief. But I knew they needed to see it, needed to see what their ridicule had almost kept me from becoming. I took a deep breath and stepped into the living room, my portfolio clutched in hand. I didn't say a word at first. I simply laid out my latest collection, garments that whispered rebellion, that screamed resilience. The fabrics shimmered under the dim light, each piece telling a story of struggle turned into strength. Their faces shifted from skepticism to shock. My father's jaw tightened, and my mother's eyes widened as they took in the details. I could see the moment they realized the girl they had mocked, the girl they'd called foolish, had grown into something extraordinary. I watched their reactions carefully. For a moment, there was silence, a heavy, loaded silence that stretched between us. Then my father slowly, almost hesitantly, reached out and touched a delicate embroidered jacket I'd made. His eyes widened. "Is this you?" I nodded. "Yes, this is what I've been working on all these years. This is what I've become." My mother's hand trembled as she reached out to touch a flowing gown, tears pooling in her eyes. For a moment, she looked so vulnerable, so fragile, so human, beyond the harsh words she'd spoken before. I saw the regret buried beneath her pride. That was the moment I realized it wasn't just about showing them my success. It was about reclaiming my voice, my worth, and my dignity. I had carried their doubts for so long, let them define my path with their negativity. But now, standing here with my designs, I was finally free. I looked at them, at their stunned faces, and I felt a quiet, powerful victory. Not because I was angry or bitter, but because I had transformed pain into power. I had turned their betrayal into my strength. They didn't speak right away. Instead, my father looked at me with a mixture of awe and apology. My mother's eyes shimmered with tears. And in that silent, powerful moment, I knew I'd won, not through confrontation, but through resilience. Through becoming everything they had doubted I could be. As I packed up my portfolio to leave, I looked back at the house that once seemed so small, so suffocating. I knew I was leaving with more than just my designs. I was leaving with my truth. And I was finally ready to show the world what I'd always known. That a girl's dreams, no matter how ridiculous they seem to others, are worth fighting for. That sometimes, the greatest victory lies in returning home, not as the girl they mocked, but as the woman who proved them wrong in every possible way.